Conservative Party rebels are plotting with opposition parties to take control of Parliament. They want to tie the government's hands with legislation that will block a no-deal exit, which they say will devastate the nation's economy. Let's cross now to London to get more from our correspondent Bénédicte Paviot. Bénédicte, Boris Johnson there issuing an enormous threat to any potential rebel members of his own party. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, this is a huge threat, the most serious you can do to an MP, and that is to deselect him or her. So effectively, what Boris Johnson, the new Prime Minister, is doing is he's saying, if you help to back a no deal, stopping me from seeking that no deal, therefore, if you back an opposition motion in Parliament as recently as tomorrow or Wednesday, and you tie my hands, stopping me from getting a deal, or if there is no deal, stopping me from leaving the UK out of the EU by that 31st of October, that new date given by the other 27 EU countries, I will take the whip away from you. In other words, I will expel you from the party. Now, for a government that has a majority of one, that would effectively turn this government into a minority government, because the only way it is passing any legislation in Parliament is thanks to the DUP, the 10 seats of the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland. So this is quite extraordinary. But the breaking news here is Downing Street and the Prime Minister are, as we speak, really, there are live discussions going on, and they're very much considering calling a snap general election. And I understand that there's going to be an emergency cabinet meeting this afternoon around 5 p.m. London time. So the stakes are extremely high. The threats are very serious. And this is very clearly an absolute showdown that we are heading towards as Parliament will reconvene after the summer recess tomorrow afternoon.
Bénédicte, given what you've just told me, let me just ask you this question. I mean, you and I were talking before about Boris Johnson's endgame, and there's been a lot of speculation that all of this chaos is leading to what he's wanting, a snap election. It certainly looks like we're heading in that direction, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Already, when the Prime Minister announced last week that he would seek, and he then did obtain within hours, that permission with the head of state, the Queen, to prorogue Parliament, in other words, to suspend Parliament sitting, and that it would reconvene as of the 14th of October. And that is, he said, for that Queen's speech to set out his government's domestic agenda. We knew that there were going to be fireworks with the opposition. Now, what's interesting is that the Labour Party, that it has to be said, are way behind in the polls. The Conservatives, in quite a few of the polls, have got a 10 or 11-point lead. Of course, there are only polls, and the ultimate poll, of course, is always a general election. But the Labour Party itself and its leader, Jeremy Corbyn, has for months, years even, been saying that he wants a general election. And here's the irony. Under the fixed-term Parliament, we now have parliamentary sessions of 5 years, or governments for 5 years. So in order, if Boris Johnson, if that is his endgame anyway, to call a general election, guess who he needs? He needs Jeremy Corbyn and Labour MPs to vote for it. Why? Because what is needed is 2/3 of MPs to vote for a general election to be held. So confrontation coming up, showdown, OK Corral, absolutely, all guns blazing from 2:30 London time tomorrow. And what we understand is the Labour Party and the other, with the aid of other opposition MPs, rebel Conservatives, Liberal Democrats in opposition, the Scottish National Party, and some independent MPs, are going to try for an emergency debate. They will try and pass a law very quickly through the lower chamber, the House of Commons, the upper chamber, the House of Lords. And if they fail to do that, they may well call a confidence motion in this government and try and topple it. Stand by for real fireworks, and let's see what comes out of the cabinet meeting this afternoon.
Bénédicte Paviot there on the ongoing roller coaster ride that is British politics currently. Thank you, Bénédicte.